Welcome back, everyone, to the Chit Chat Encouraging Podcast. Today, my guest is LuLu Roman. We had a great conversation about her. She has an amazing story and amazing autobiography. Hope you can check out this podcast and maybe be able to order yourself one. She was on the hit show Hee Haw for 25 years. Watched that show often when I was a kid, and it was packed with country singers from Buck Owens to Roy Clark and Minnie Pearl and many, many more. Also in this podcast, we have another song by Joe Gibson Jr. Hope you can sit back and relax and enjoy this podcast. As always, we have a message from Braden Marty, CEO and Veteran Roasters Coffee. This is Chit Chat, the encouraging one another podcast. Welcome. Hello, friends, and welcome to another podcast episode. And we are on location again. It's been a little while. Our family has taken a road trip down south, about 5 hours, to Oregon. And we have rented a house for a couple of days. My wife, 4 kids, my grandkids, and so it's right on the ocean. As you can hear the waves crashing, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't know, will you be here listening to this a couple of weeks, or who knows. Get a cup of coffee, and I'm just about 20 feet from the water. I can see the water. I mean, we are on a private beach. It's freaking awesome. A little cloudy today, a little sprinkly, but you know what? It does not matter. I'm still on vacation, and I'm just away from the craziness of life, and it's just so peaceful here at the ocean. And as I said in the previous podcast before, I love the water. Whether it's a waterfall, a river, a creek, a stream, and the ocean works for me too. The waves are just fun to watch as they white cap just rush in. And being in the Navy for 4 years, way back on, from 1989 to 1993, being out on sea, doing the deployments and stuff. I respect the ocean, but you don't get much out of it when you're just kind of floating around country to country. But I think when you sit back on the beach and really just can watch the waves and just listen, it's really amazing and awestruck. And those are some really big waves. But I'm sure these aren't as big as waves as in Hawaii or Australia, but this definitely works for me, and it's a great place to hang out and really enjoy the ocean. And of course, it's at 6. I have my cup of coffee with me, so thank goodness we have coffee. We almost had a coffee crisis yesterday. I forgot to bring coffee. My daughter forgot to bring coffee. We had to go buy coffee. So I'm thankful for the store that had coffee this morning. Every time I see the ocean, I really think of some amazing stories in the Bible. I think of Jonah when he didn't listen to God and was in a belly of a whale for a number of days. And when he disobeyed God, a direct order from God, if you will, to go to Nineveh. And I also think of Peter, when he got out of the boat and Jesus says, "Come to me." And Peter is walking on the water, and he got scared. He lost sight of God and Jesus, and he went under. And the sheer terror that he was facing drowning momentarily until Jesus pulled him up. I think of that story, actually, the ocean. And I also think of the story where Jesus is out in the boat, I think with the fishermen. And they're crying, Lord, Lord, we're going to die, we're going to die. And he walks out and says, peace, be still. And the waves just stop. I think that one of all really would be most mesmerizing to see. There's the amazing power of him. It's about his voice telling the waves to be still, and to see it actually happen. I'm sure that'd be pretty incredible. But this podcast I've been doing it for about almost 5 months now is about encouraging others. And I've done that by reaching out to people from all walks of life, comedians, musicians, and a couple of CEOs of different businesses, and a variety of people having a story and sharing the story and who encouraged them, who inspired them. And I am really thankful for the listeners I have, and slowly gaining and sharing encouragement. And I just want to just tell you that whatever difficulties you're facing, whatever addictions or problems you're going through, trust in Jesus, and he will help you through them. He will guide you through the darkest times in your life and help you bring you back, if you will. He is always available for you 24/7, 365 or 366 being a leap year. He's like 7-Eleven. Jesus' love never goes away. He is always there for you, always waiting for you to return to him. And we all make mistakes. I admit I make mistakes often. And he loves us, though. And when you give your heart to him and you say, Jesus, can you forgive me my sins and help me do better, help me live as you'd like me to live, he would do that. This world is a simple world. We make mistakes and we do dumb things. But you know what? He still loves us. He still loves us. And just watching this ocean, it was funny. Yesterday on the beach, we'd played some wiffle ball and drawing in the sand, and footprints back and forth in the water. And I'm looking at the sand now, it's all gone. The sand's all just like no one's been here at all. And it reminds me of God's amazing love for us, that when we ask for forgiveness and seek forgiveness, he washes away those sins. And so every day is a new day. You can ask God every day for forgiveness of your sins, and he will help you and guide you through them and give you a renewed spirit each and every day. I love this background. Let's listen to the ocean. I see a couple of birds floating around there, flying around, floating around. It's a really cloudy sky, misting a little bit, but this beats my backyard. My backyard is it's a road. It's a busy road. It almost seems like a highway at times. But it's nice to come back in the backyard, have a cup of coffee, and just listen to the waves. And the amazing power of the Lord. And as I look down the beach, my left and my right, it's just nothing but clear beach. Sandy beaches here in Oregon. dabbled in the water yesterday. It was a little cold. I'll admit it. I would not be in that water all the way up to my knees. No thanks. But watching people out there surf and swim in it's pretty fun to watch. But not this old body. I'd be freezing some body parts. But just hearing the amazing. Those are some. I wish I was doing audio podcast. Just showing you some of the massive waves that are kind of popping up. Just watching the water come in and out. It's just pretty incredible. There's similar place. There's a tongue-tied there. Is there a place that you like to go to kick back and relax, and to get away from the business of life? Is there a cabin or a mountain somewhere you like to go to, or an ocean maybe, or a lake? If you want to comment below, or just shoot me a message of places you'd like to go and kind of refocus and get away from the business of life. I'd love to hear where you like to go. But yeah, the ocean's definitely a place to go and kick back and relax. I know it's not Hawaii, but this particular trip we couldn't afford Hawaii with gas almost $6 a gallon. We felt it best to do a 5-hour drive and just stay in the Pacific Northwest. Anyway, since I'm rambling now, but anyway, thank you for listening to the podcast today, this episode, this little chapter, I guess, of the ocean visit. But I challenge you to keep encouraging others, share encouragement with others, be kind to one another, share hope, be patient with people. And we always have a short fuse on getting our coffee or getting through the drive-through. I challenge you to just be better today than you were yesterday. Be a little kinder. Laugh a little more. Thanks for listening. This is Chit and Chat, encouraging one another podcast. This is LuLu Roman. He was there all the time.
Time after time, I went searching for peace in some void. I was trying to blame all my ills on this world I was in. Surface relationships used me till I was done in. And all the time someone was begging to free me from sin. He was there all the time. He was there all the time, waiting patiently in line. He was there all the time.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Chit and Chat, encouraging one another podcast. I'm your host, Jody Sheffield, and today I am honored to have on a lady who starred in the hit TV show Hee Haw. Back in the 90s of growing up, watched it all the time with Roy Clark and Buck Owens, and she has performed on Hee Haw Live at the Roy Acuff Theater in Nashville, Tennessee. She was a guest on the inauguration celebration for one of my favorite presidents, Ronald Reagan.
She's been inducted into the Country Music Gospel Hall of Fame in 1999, inducted in the Christian Music Hall of Fame in 2008, and I could go on and on about her many accolades, but I'm excited to have on LuLu Roman today, and she has an amazing story of times, very tragic times she went through, but God's been there watching over her every step of the way. It is my honor to have on LuLu Roman on today, the Chit Chat Encouraging Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor today to have on LuLu Roman. I'm so excited to get her story. The minutes we have today, God's been with her every step of the way. I truly believe that, and so excited to have her on today. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
As I said, I'm in total awe of speaking with you today, and this podcast was created to bring encouragement to others. And just reading your story, I am just in awe. You are an amazing lady, and you have been through a lot, and I'm so excited to be talking to you today.
Thank you so much.
I would like to get some folks to a little bio about yourself, if you don't mind, for those who don't know who he all is. As a show it ran like 25 years, correct?
Uh-huh.
Can you give a little bio to folks out there who you are?
I am LuLu from Hee Haw.
And your biography is it based on my old hymn? This is my story, this is my song?
Yes.
Can you tell about your biography, please?
Yep. It's written from the time that I was placed in an orphan's home at 2.5, almost 3 years old. And I spent my childhood in the orphan's home. I stayed from the time I was 2 to the time I was 18 when I graduated.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was, I didn't I quite know how to deal with everything, because I was one of the, shall we say, unfortunate ones who was just a little bit rounder than anybody else.
Right.
And so I spent my whole childhood with people, saying, "Fatty, fatty, 2x4 can't get through the kitchen door."
Mm.
To which I learned how to say, obviously I did. And I got something good and you didn't.
Can you share some of the difficulties you faced in high school? Well, that was a few years ago, wasn't it?
It was. It sure was. Just basically the same thing, if you're any way different in this world,
oh yes,
there are going to be people who make fun of you, who will talk down to you, who will whisper behind your back, who will laugh at you. I mean, it's just anything that would hurt your feelings. And so I spent many, many years with raw edges around me. I did.
I'm a dad with my kids are all adults now, grandkids, and I just can't stand bullying of any kind.
No, me either.
It's so heartbreaking. People bully people for the way they look, the way they dress.
Uh-huh.
So heartbreaking.
If you don't have the right pair of shoes, if your hair is not fixed the way they think it should be or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
You battled and eventually beat drug addiction. Could you share a little bit about that? And
say what now?
You battled and you beat drug addiction. Can you share a little bit about that?
I did. I started not really realizing kind of what I was doing by just taking diet pills, because I wanted to lose weight because I was always, overweight. And one thing led to another, and before I knew it, I was just totally consumed with the drugs.
Mm.
I went from pills to marijuana, and from marijuana to LSD, and from LSD to any kind of psychedelic I could get my hands on.
Wow.
And I've spent, goodness, almost, almost 20, 30 years, doing drugs.
Mm-hmm. And when was it to a point where you're like, I gotta stop this? This isn't my life. This is the way I'm supposed to be living.
It really didn't hit me until I had been out of school for many years, and worked at the telephone company and got fired because I was a little more than what they wanted me. I said a few things they didn't like to hear. If people said things to me on the phone, it made me mad. I'd tell them, and I'm not in a nice way. And so one day, Ma Bell just said, "That's it, you're out." And I found myself in the streets, and ran into some people. I was early 20s, and uh, got in with a group of kids that did drugs,
Mm-hmm.
and I started to smoke marijuana, and the next thing I knew, I was doing pills, and then from pills, I went to LSD, and from LSD to opiates and cocaine and all kinds of stuff. There's not much that I did not do at one time in my life, and I was pretty messed up on drugs when I ran into one of the kids that I grew up with in the orphans home. And she said, "I have someplace I want to take you."
It's okay. Love
Okay,
technology.
where was I?
You were getting invited to go somewhere. To church, I believe.
Okay, let's see. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Um, yes, a friend of mine that grew up with me in the orphanage home invited me to go to church with her. And so I didn't really want to, but I said, all right, I will. And I went, and it was a place in Dallas called Beverly Hills Baptist Church.
Mm.
And they were the nicest, strangest, funny talking people I had ever seen. And I sit way in the back, and by then I had been on hee haw for a couple of years, and I didn't want anybody, jumping out and, saying, "Bah," Well, nobody really said anything except the pastor came down out of the platform,
Mm-hmm.
walked all the way to the back of that church. It was a nice long one, too. And slid in right to where I was and took hold of both my hands. And he said, "I know who you are." And I almost fell out on the floor. And he said, "Could I just introduce you to my church?" Well, I couldn't talk. So he kind of more or less just like, I don't know if I want to say led or drugged me down to the front and introduced me to the church. And the next thing I knew, all these people were around me, and they were just touching me and loving me and talking to me. It totally blew my mind. It did.
Wow.
They
I,
were so sweet and so kind. And so I think I went home and just zoned out. I don't, I didn't know what to do, but uh, I ended up in the next couple of days in his office, and he sat down in the floor and said, "Come here, just just." I sat down on the floor, and he just grabbed hold of my hands and just started talking to me,
Mm.
And he had the most incredible blue eyes, the kind that you don't want to stop looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found myself zoned right into those eyes anyway. I know now that was Jesus. It was. And he just sat there and talked to me. He talked to me for a couple of hours and eventually just began to tell me how much Jesus loved me.
Mm.
Now, see, I didn't want to hear that because I grew up in an orphan's home that was a religious, staunch, stiff,
Mm.
background. But the the love and um, the sheer caring that came out of that man's eyes just really it took my breath away. It did,
Wow.
and uh, before I knew it, we were on our knees, and he was praying a very simple little sinner's prayer, and I prayed it right behind him. And on April the 11th of 1973, at 10:30 at night, I gave my heart to Jesus in his office on my knees.
Wow.
And I pretty close to had a physical experience with it. It was like I just flew. I jumped up, I was happy and shouting, and we were clapping our hands and laughing and crying. My friend Diane was with me. We were having a come to Jesus party. It was precious. It really was. And I had never, experienced anything like that before in my life. I had not. And I went home that night and I couldn't hardly go to sleep. I was so excited. I felt like I, I felt like I had been washed and cleansed. And I realized now that I had been. I
Wow.
had been washed in the blood of Jesus. I had.
That's
And
amazing.
it it just changed my life. It did.
How did you get the name Lulu? I was kind of reading the story that Lulu is not your real name. How did you get that name?
Um, I was a mischievous little booger. Okay, when when I was a kid, and when I went to school, and I believe it was one of the teachers. Name was Allen, Mister and Mrs. Allen. They were both teachers at the orphans home, and I I think I remember. Maybe it was him that said one day to me, I was always in trouble because I was always doing silly stuff and getting, sit down, stop that, I would sing and act silly and dance around, and um, he told me that I was a Lulu. And he was going to call me Lulu. And so it stuck.
So as a kid, I used to watch Hee Haw quite often. I always sang the Where Are You Tonight song with my dad.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how did you get cast to that show? That lasted, what, 25 years? Were you on all the shows?
I was off a little tiny bit when I was messed up with drugs for a bit, but then I was back on. But I'm proud to say and it was just a couple of months. I was on the first show and I was on the last show. I was. Um, I used to go dancing in Dallas in the cowboy places, and my friend called me one night and said, "Listen, I want you to go with me. We're going to go on down here to Dewey Groom's Longhorn Ballroom." Said Buck Owens is going to be there, and I said, "Buck who?" And they said, "Buck Owens," you know. And I said, "Well, all right, okay." So I went down there, and me and I think it was two or three of my other girlfriends went down there, and so we got right up there at one of the front tables, you know, where up by where he was singing, and this was a dance hall, you know, so we get him to dance with people, and when Buck saw my friend, her name was Carol, he fell in love. And sent somebody over to the table and asked if he could come and meet her. And she said, "Yes, of course," you know. So that started a friendship with them and a friendship with us because I was there with her. And we just got to be good buddies. And every time he'd come to town, he'd call and we'd go see the show and have dinner with him and stuff. And one night my phone rang and it was Buck. And he said, "Now, I was rattling off something." He said, "Shut up and sit down and listen to me." And I said, "Well, all right." And he said, "You're going to think I'm crazy." But he said, "There's a bunch of people up here in California." Said they put together a country and western type laugh-in show. He said they're going to call it Hee Haw. And I said, "He what?" And he said, "Hee Haw, you know, like a donkey." And I said, "Oh, yeah, right." And he said, "They want you to come up here and be the funny girl." Well, honey, all I saw was dollar bills, you know. And I said, "Well, yes, I will." So the next thing I knew, I met the next week, I was on a plane to Los Angeles. And they took me to CBS television studios. And I saw Carol Burnett and I saw, you know, all the guys that were on her show. And I met some other people, you know. And it was a great trip. It was. But then I met these people that were going to do this show called Hee Haw. It was a group called Young Street Productions. They were out of Canada. And uh, John Ellsworth and Frank Pepiot were the guys who headed it. And I met with them, and they told me the preface of the show, you know, and what it was going to entail, and that they had a need for a large, fat, funny girl, and that Buck Owens had informed them that I was the one that they needed. And I said, "Well, I sure am." So next thing I knew, they um, said, "We're going to be in Nashville." Uh, it was in June, early June that year, 68, 69, I think it was. And you be in Nashville. And so, by golly, I was in Nashville. And bear in mind now that I was a hippie kid then. I ran around in water fountains and ate LSD most of the time
Mm.
until I until I got saved, you know. And so I came to Nashville, and I couldn't imagine what this thing was going to be because they said that it was going to be a country and western type laughing. They did not tell us the name was going to be Hee Haw because I think every one of us would have fled, you know.
He what?
Just, yeah, he what? And I was kind of, you know, I thought that they were joking around with me at first, you know. And then I saw all the other people coming in, and they had, you know, they had wardrobe for us to wear. We didn't wear our street clothes until later when I started to sing, you know. Um, and They stood me up in front of a camera and held up a cue card and said, "Read this." And I read it, and they said, "Wow, you're great." And I said, I thought, "Thank you. What else do you want me to do?" You know? So that's how it all started. Sam Lavello uh, was executive producer, and he was he was the one who, I think had the final say. Him, there was three of them: Frank Pepe, John Ellsworth, and Sam Lavello was a producer. And the next thing I knew, we were standing in front of the television camera, reading cue cards and saying, "What?" Because you never got to see the lines until you stood up in front of the camera,
Oh,
and
wow.
they held the cue card up and you read it.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was a surprise to us, every one of us, for what we were going to say.
That's amazing.
It was.
Did
And
not
the
know
next thing we knew, we had a major hit on our hands.
that. 25 years. That's
Which-
incredible. TV shows don't run that long anymore these days.
yeah, they don't. Yeah, no kidding.
The cast you had was insane with Buck Owens and Roy Clark, Minnie Pearl, howdy,
Uh huh.
Grandpa Jones, Roy
Mm-hmm.
Acuff. Oh my goodness.
String Bean. Remember String Bean?
What was the
And
experience like to be part of that for 26 years and nearly 655 episodes?
yep.
Pretty insane. Was there a lot of filming each day, or would you do like a blast of recordings in a day, or how'd that work off doing
Well,
recording?
we filmed twice a year. We filmed in the months of June and the months of October.
Oh, wow.
Because what they did was they had to figure out everybody's schedule. Roy was touring some, and Buck was touring, and they kind of had to work around their schedules as far as what they were doing, out in the world, in the public, doing concerts and stuff.
Hmm.
So, and then after that first year or so, they just started to reserve June and October for filming Hee Haw, and then everybody else could come in too, and um, it worked out great. It did. We did probably. I think we were here. We were here about a month or so, but production stayed about 6 8 weeks to get one season done.
Oh, wow.
Twice a year.
Since that moment when you accept Jesus into your heart, how it's probably an odd question, but how has your life changed? You began singing gospel music and getting involved in that aspect, correct?
Well, I didn't at first. At
Okay.
first, I just was kind of going out giving my testimony.
Okay. How was that like?
And I'm sorry.
How was that like giving your testimony?
Uh, it was strange at first. I mean, I I think I probably did better than most people would do because I had been in high school. I had been in speech classes and I had done plays and operettas and stuff like that. So I wasn't quite as terrified as I was in school, but to stand up in front of people and talk, and stuff. And I didn't really start to sing until several years after the show started. I mean, I always sang, but I never uh, thought to tell them that I sang, because they had guest stars that came on and sang. And then when they found out that I sang, uh, Sam said, "Well, Lou, you need to be singing on the show." And I said, "Well, I'm sure okay." you know.
Do you write songs as well?
I do. Yeah.
How do you get inspiration for writing songs?
Uh, it's it's. I want to say strange, but it's not strange. It's life experiences will take you sometimes places that will make you think about things you've never thought about before.
Hmm.
You know, and that's when you kind of find it easier to write stuff down.
Do you have any albums out, or you just have a lot of solo hits?
um, I have goodness, I don't even know how many albums I have out now. Yeah, there's a bunch of them out there.
And you've what's the most exotic place you sing at? Obviously, the Grand Ole Opry. You sing in there, right?
I sang there last Sunday, as a matter of fact.
What? What's
It's
that like singing there? That in that place on that circle on the stage there.
it's pretty awesome. It is, and you know, every time you set foot on that stage, you can't help but be thankful because you know, I mean, I realize that what an honor and a blessing it is. You know, I mean, I sang last Sunday for Sunday morning country, and you 40 years, honey, 40 years been singing on that stage for that one particular thing.
Wow. And you love singing gospel, don't you?
I do, I do. Yeah,
I grew up in church, Church of Christ. Actually, we taught a ton of hymns, and
yeah,
I still love the old Gray Cross. One of my
uh-huh, yeah.
so yeah, but we mentioned your autobiography. How can people get a copy of your your autobiography? You have a website you can reach out to?
Uh, Lulu Roman Kim. I think it's luluroman.net. I don't know about .com. Kim, you they want to get a copy of the book. Is it luluroman.net or .com? luluroman.com. Okay, luluroman.com.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to have you on today.
Thank you.
I'm so privileged and so thankful. You have an amazing story, and I truly believe God's been watching over you since day one.
I do too. I do too, honey. I sure do.
Oh, you've had an amazing singing career, and just an amazing testimony. So often, people's testimony can help encourage someone else. Have you received feedback from people who have been in some dark places that you have helped?
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
And what is that like?
It's remarkable. It is. It is. I've gotten a lot of mail, and I get to talk to a lot of people nowadays, more so even than mail.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I go out and do concerts and things.
When you
And
go ahead,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you receive letters from people. How, does that pull strings in your heart that people reach out to you, thanking you for helping them in the areas they've been through?
Always, always, yes. Yeah, it does. It really makes me know the heart of a savior who loves everyone.
Mm.
It does. Yeah.
If any words of encouragement for someone out there, this is a podcast of encouraging others. If someone's out there who's struggling, going through some addictions or whatever, any words of encouragement for them that may help them to move forward?
One word. Jesus.
Mm.
Call on Jesus. He's there. He's always there. And it will change your life forever. Forever. In a great, wonderful, loving way.
This podcast is about encouraging others, and I based it off 1 Thessalonians 5:11, which says, "Encourage one another and lift each other up." And Lulu, you are encouraging so many people, young and old. I'm 50 years old, but
Thank you.
Story and your bio, I am just in awe of what you've been through and you've gone through. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, your schedule, and God bless you.
You are so very welcome, honey. Thank you, and God bless you.
You take care of yourself, okay?
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Break for 30 seconds. It's a really tough bridge and divide for many veterans when they come home from active service. What we try to do is bridge that divide My name is Brandon Marty, and I'm the CEO and managing partner of Veteran Roasters Coffee. There's some great skills that can be transitioned to many different industries within coffee, and coffee's fun. We're all veterans here, veteran-owned, veteran-operated, and so there's a strong connection and trust that we all have in each other through similar service, and we support each other both personally and professionally in that growth. It's all about people here, and my goal is really to help them kind of establish a new life for them and their families, help them understand the benefits and resources available, and really create a pathway to the new phase of their lives.
I want to thank Brandon Marty for being a part of the Chit Chat Encouraging One Another podcast, and their company is offering a discount when you buy bags from them, and when you use the code CHITCHAT25, we will receive 25% off. And he said they're all veterans working for the company, and they help veterans get on their feet, back on their feet, having some difficult time when they transition from the military. So just check out Veteran Roasters Coffee. It's coffee with a purpose. This is Joel Gibson Jr. Not again.
I lost count of all the times you said you'd leave. You walk out and come crawling back on your knees, and I let you back in. But not again. No, not again. I changed the locks like I changed my mind. You're out the door and you're out of my life. So hit the road and don't turn around. Yeah, your time is up for bringing me down. I'm jumping off of this one-way, a runaway train. I fell out of love with you long ago. I'm sick and tired of your mind games. All you bring is pain. All you bring is pain. I changed the locks like I changed my mind. You're out the door and you're out of my life. So hit the road and don't turn around. Your time is up for bringing me down. I'd like to tell you go to hell, but that's where I've been living. You're a cold ass bitch and you put me over the limit. I'm getting back on track, ain't looking back. Hell no, we can't be friends. No, not again.
I want to thank Joel Gibson for being a part of this podcast, sharing his music. Check out his website, joelgibsonjrmusic.com, for his upcoming events, his concerts, his merchandise, hats, hoodies, and much, much more. That's joelgibsonjrmusic.com. Thank you for joining the Chit and Chat Encouraging One Another podcast. Until next time.
See you next week. Same bad time, same bad station.